On today's edition of Vikings Now by Chat Sports, I'm going to be going over 4 Vikings trade candidates if they do end up losing this Sunday to the Los Angeles Chargers. As we know, this is a must-win ball game with the Vikings currently sitting at 0-2 on the short start to the NFL season. So welcome in. My name is Patrick Siepman, and let's dive right into it. My number 1 trade candidate, it's got to be the quarterback. It's got to be number 8, Kirk Cousins. And I know what a lot of you guys might be saying. Listen, he's got the no-trade clause. There is no way Kirk ends up getting dealt this season, and I agree with you to a certain extent. But let's just say the Vikings start losing a bunch of games here, and maybe Kirk wants to go win and go compete with a better roster. Maybe a team like the New York Jets could be calling. But actually, Rob Gronkowski had a lot to say about the current Viking situation sitting at 0-2, and this is what he said, talking about the Vikings-Chargers game. He said, whoever loses this game, there will be some serious change in the organization eventually over the next couple of weeks. For the Vikings, if they go 0-3, there's going to be some serious change at the quarterback position. They have a good team, but they can't finish. They can't win games. He carried on to say, I feel like Kirk Cousins will be shipped out. Someone's going to want to trade for him that's a playoff contender. He's a good player. He's putting up the stats. He's playing well. Kirk Cousins will be shipped out, and they will be building for the future, hopefully tank for Caleb Williams out of USC right there. I love having Gronk chime in on our quarterback situation, but he was making a good point. Listen, Kirk is having a tremendous start to this year. Obviously, the turnovers have been an issue, and obviously the fumbles, more specifically, as 3 lost fumbles so far on the short season with 4 turnovers overall. But, I mean, the dude's throwing he's completing 72.7% of his passes, over 700 yards, and 3 touchdowns in each of the games versus the Buccaneers and the Philadelphia Eagles. I will say this, though. It is incredibly unlikely that he does get dealt. Number 1 reason, it's that no-trade clause. We heard Kirk, if you guys watched that Netflix documentary, he has been very vocal about his admiration for just the overall state of Minnesota. He loves living there. He loves raising his family there. But let's just say the Vikings do look up, and maybe after Week 4 in Carolina, they're 1-3 with Kansas City rolling to town in Week 5, and they drop that game, and you're 1-4, and Kirk's saying, listen, I'm 34 years old. I want to go compete for a Super Bowl, and maybe the New York Jets end up calling. So I think the Jets are my top team as a Kirk trade destination. But the Steelers, I'm not saying this is likely at all. But Kenny Pickett has been straight up awful this year, and I think the Steelers have one of the best defenses in the entire NFL. They have solid weapons in George Pickens and also some of the other dudes they have over there. So maybe the Steelers could be calling as well. And then also, you never know. I put number 3 as an unknown pending an injury. Maybe another team's quarterback goes down, like the San Francisco 49ers. They've dealt with injuries at that quarterback position in the past. Maybe Brock Purdy goes down and Shanahan finally gets his boy, Kirk Cousins, up there in San Francisco. Again, unlikely Kirk gets traded, but these are 2 teams that just to keep your eyes on if the Vikings do start losing games, the Jets and the Steelers. But I'll ask you guys, I'll throw it your guys' direction. Will Kirk Cousins finish the season with the Minnesota Vikings? It's going to be the pinned comment on today's video. So YouTube, they're going to throw an ad break your way. Scroll on down, take advantage. Give me a Y for yes or an N for no if you think Kirk Cousins will finish the season with the Minnesota Vikings. Number 2 on my list is the linebacker Jordan Hicks. And I will say this, a little bit of where Patrick was wrong right here. I thought Jordan Hicks was going to get cut before the season. I thought he looked pretty bad last season. I thought he looked like he lost a step. But I actually say this, he's coming off one of his best games that he's played with the Minnesota Vikings. He was absolutely fantastic against the Philadelphia Eagles. When I was going back watching that game, he was great on his QB contain, specifically against Jalen Hurts. He was great in the run game, even though Vikings got ran all over that game. He was that one bright spot. But if you're looking at this Vikings linebacker room, the main reason why I do think you could move off him is because you have young guys behind him. I still love what I've seen out of Ivan Pace so far during the short season. Brian Asamoah hasn't really getting as much reps as I would have liked. Troy Dye has made some couple splash plays here and there, but I do think the Vikings can manage by trading Jordan Hicks. You might be saying, well, what do they get out of trading him? Well, you could fetch a late round pick for Jordan Hicks, and it would allow guys like Asamoah and Ivan Pace to develop together. I want those two on the field at the same time. They play complementary football with each other. And listen, Ivan Pace is off to a great start to this NFL season. He has been absolutely dominant. He's actually one of the highest rated pass rush grades out of all linebackers in the NFL. Right here. Here's his PFF grades on the season. Ivan Pace, 91.9 pass rush grade overall 85.2. Still, I am shaking my head or just wondering how this guy went undrafted. Our very own Tom Downey here at Chat Sports had him at a top 100 prospect. I mean, I thought he was a beast coming out of Cincinnati. At 22 tackles for loss his senior year. And all the hype we heard about him around training camp during the preseason, he is fully living up to it. So I would rather have him, Ivan Pace, Asamoah, those be the two linebackers the Vikings focus on. And you could actually trade away Jordan Hicks. Number 3 for me, this one just hurts to even put on here, but I do think it's probably the most likely out of the 4 names I'm going to show you, and that's Harrison Smith. Harrison Smith signed one of the worst contracts in the NFL 2 off seasons ago. Shout out to Rick Spielman for locking him up to that. But Harrison Smith's remaining deal on this current contract he's on, this year he is making $7.5 million. They restructured that this offseason, and they backloaded more of the money, where next season he's making $14.5 million. And then in 2025, he's making $17 million. And listen, I thought Harrison Smith lost a step last season. Well, he's been even worse this year. He has really struggled. He's just looked slow. And I do think the Vikings can manage without him. Like, I would rather see, how about a guy like Lewis Cine? He has not played at all this season because he's been stuck behind guys like Harrison Smith. I mean, Theo Jackson's gotten a little bit of run, but Josh Metellus, he's been in and out of the lineup just because they've been having to rotate with Harrison Smith and Cam Bynum. I think Cam Bynum, Lewis Cine, Josh Metellus, those are the 3 guys, the Vikings safety room. Those are the safeties of the future. And listen, I love Harrison Smith. He's one of my favorite Minnesota Vikings players of all time. Coming out of Notre Dame, I mean, he's been with this team for 10-plus years. It's crazy that he's already entering. I think he's about 33 years old. So, listen, Harrison Smith, you probably won't be able to fetch much for him because of that contract. But if you could take a 6th, 7th round pick and move off that contract that he has, I would 100% do it. Again, all these trades are hypothetical if the Vikings do lose this Sunday. I got one more name that I'll get to here in a second, but I do want to get a huge shout out to our proud sportsbook sponsor here at Chat Sports, BetUS. If you guys use this link, chatsports.com/bet, use this promo code right here, chat125. You guys can get a 125% deposit bonus. Put $100 in, they're going to give you $125 free to play with. So take advantage. Bet on the Vikings this weekend versus the Chargers. Head to chatsports.com/bet. Use that promo code chat125. Number 4 on my list of Vikings trade candidates, if they do end up losing to the Chargers this weekend, Danielle Hunter. We've heard his name thrown around before, the Vikings did end up getting him a new deal where he's on a 1-year, $20 million deal right now. But hey, Danielle Hunter, maybe the Vikings could look to move off him because, hey, I'll tell you what, a team is going to want him. Right now, Danielle Hunter is tied with TJ Watt for the league in sacks. He's got 4 sacks, 5 TFLs, 15 tackles, and obviously we know he's one of the best at the line of scrimmage at batting down balls. He already has 1 PBU on the season. But if the Vikings were going to move off Danielle Hunter, this would mean a full rebuild is underway because you don't move off a star edge rusher like that unless you're fully going to commit to obviously losing some games and trying to get, that quarterback of the future. I think out of all these guys, I think Harrison Smith and Jordan Hicks are a lot more likely, but I think we'll understand a lot about this Vikings organization and kind of the path they're going to take with decisions that they will make on Danielle Hunter and on Kirk Cousins. It's going to be interesting to see, but those are 4 trade candidates that I had for the Minnesota Vikings if they do end up losing this Sunday versus the Los Angeles Chargers, but I don't think that's going to happen. Let me know your confidence level in the Vikings this weekend versus the Los Angeles Chargers. I'm probably sitting around at 8. I think the Vikings are a better football team. You are at home, too. We also just got the latest injury report that Marcus Davenport is ruled out. Garrett Bradbury is questionable, but Christian Darrisaw, he's ready to go. We'll have the left tackle back going against Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, and the boys. So it's good to have those guys back, but let me know your confidence level 1 through 10 in the Vikings against the Chargers this weekend. As always, you guys can hit me up on Twitter at Pat Sieps. I'll put that link for you guys in the comment section and the description of today's show. Man, I'm hoping the Vikings will get it done this Sunday, but we'll be live for the game an hour before kickoff, so make sure you guys subscribe, turn your notifications on, and be there. See you guys next time. Skol Vikes.